Everyone. This is Lee, the appraiser, for another episode of Amazing Appraising from the world famous APR57 gallery here in New York City. We're going to say live or semi-live here, as the case may be. And for the second half of our show tonight, we are very, very excited to have a gentleman who is probably unique in the fact that he is the probably most prominent Jewish broadcaster in the country. I've known him as a friend and colleague for, I'm guessing, probably about 37 years. I'm guessing, maybe longer. I met him on a cruise, on a Passover cruise, about almost 37 years, I guess, to about 2 or 3 weeks. And his name is Zev Brenner. Of course, all my audience should be familiar with him, as his show comes right after our show on Sunday evenings, and he has a very long established following, primarily, I think it's through Talkline Communications. And let's start with this. Zev, say hello to my audience and say hello to me.
Lee, good to speak with you again. I can't believe it's such a long time since we first met. Probably closer to 38, 39 years ago, but you're doing a great job.
Right.
And I'm glad to see that you're on the radio. So
well,
happy to see that.
I've been talking to you about it on and off probably for 8 to 10 years, when I think WMCA approached me, and they drove me out to their studio in Secaucus and wanted to have us do a show. And I appreciate your help and guidance through guiding me through that. I think you had a prominent show on their station, right, for a number of years, right?
Right. What happened was we were on MCA on Saturday nights. We're on WSNR on weeknights. We decided to streamline, have the Saturday nights and the weeknights all on the same station. So we're on WSNR start 7 o'clock weeknights, 9 o'clock starting on Saturday nights. And then on Sunday night, WOR presented an opportunity for us. We're on WOR right after you. And we're also on WABC radio at 11 o'clock on Sunday night. So weekends are very, very busy for me.
Did they decide yet what they're doing with the absence of Rush Limbaugh now?
I'm not sure. I think it's probably up in the air. No pun intended. I
got it. But he was, right? I mean, he was probably the largest audience, right? Syndicated radio show in the world, right? I'm guessing.
He had over 25 million people that listened to his show, and people say, oh, who's listening to the radio? But 25 million Americans listen. And by the way, this is good for you to know and our audience to know, is that this year, the year of the pandemic, has been the best year for radio since 2002. Since 2002, there's been an uptick in radio listenership. People are tuning in more to the radio, and thank God for that.
I got it. No, I mean, when I was home in March, in the beginning, in April, that's all I did was listen, listen to the radio. Of course, at that time, we had a governor here that was viewed in a slightly different light than he is now. But everybody would pull their chairs up at 12 o'clock, and he'd have his news conference, and he'd give us what we thought at that time was a guidance and a security, and that everyone needed to function. And that was, unfortunately, there's some other issues that came out since then, but, whatever. I think a lot of people got into a pattern, and a lot of people still are into doing certain things. And, unfortunately, the vast majority of businesses are still having a very difficult time, but some of them are doing okay, and some of them are thriving. In fact, I heard this morning, I listened to CNBC in the morning when I wake up at 6:30, and they were saying this morning, Home Depot, their stock went down. And the reason their stock went down was because the assumption was that they benefited tremendously through this pandemic. And due to the fact now that things are looking better, people are going out, they're going to be less shopping in Home Depot and spending time on their house, they're speculating their business is going to go down, and their stock went down following that. Crazy, right?
Crazy, but you know what? I wouldn't cry for Home Depot. So it went down, but they still made a ton of money and it's still making a lot of money. So I won't cry for Home Depot.
Okay, no, I'm not crying for anybody. I'm just, I feel bad for a lot of people, but I guess some people I do cry for, but not a lot. But anyhow, so let's just talk. I guess, I always find it interesting and fascinating when a prominent interviewer gets interviewed, because they're on the other side of the mic. Generally speaking, the audience, I don't believe, knows a lot about them, knows their history. They're always the one asking the questions. So I'm going to spin the table here and tell me a little about yourself, your background, how you started in the radio business. Go ahead. Where did you
Well,
grow up? Everything.
well, I grew up in Brooklyn, Borough Park and Flatbush. You probably heard of those
I
areas.
heard of them. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go on.
And believe it or not, I was an optician. But in 1980, and I loved radio. I grew up on radio, listening to radio, and I loved it. And then what happened was in 1981, WEVD, remember WEVD, the station that spoke your language, which was the Jewish station in New York?
So my mom, I grew up listening to radio all the time, everywhere, as because my mom used to listen to the radio. She used to listen to WMCA like 24/7. That was the first talk show in New York, I believe. Okay. And she would listen to also WEVD. And I remember a gentleman, I think his name was Art Raymond.
Art Raymond. He played the Jewish music, the Simcha Man.
The Simcha Man, baby. So I think he was on Sundays. But I would listen to him on Sundays.
No, he was actually on every day during the week. He was also on Sundays as
Okay,
well.
I had a thing called school, unfortunately, that kept me out of the house sometimes. But so it was I remember listening to Art Raymond on Sunday. I guess my mom had it on, and it was WEVD, right? That's what it was.
WEVD, the station that was their slogan, the station that spoke your language or speaks your language. That was how they build themselves. So in 1981, WEVD AM, which was 1300 on the dial, was moving to FM. And there was an outcry because, believe it or not, in 1981, a lot of people, especially the older listeners, didn't have FM radio. So they were felt disenfranchised because EVD was selling their station to a Christian group called Salem Broadcasting, which eventually bought WMCA, by the way. So in 1981, because of the outcry, they decided to lease time every night, 3 hours every evening for Jewish programming. So I got involved with that, starting a show on Sunday night, which was called Night Wrap. We were the first Jewish call-in show with newsmaker guests that was in the New York area. And thank God we got great guests from the get-go and we took off. So today we've expanded to we're 6 nights a week with television, but that started in 1981 because WVD was being sold and they had to make room, they had to make provisions for the Jewish population that wanted to tune into Jewish programming.
So just to be clear, so you had, at that time, you had graduated college, you were going in to be an optometrist, is that right? Or
actually, and I was an optician. I was an optician in 1981, correct. Okay. And I was juggling. I was doing broadcasting and I was running an optical business at the same time.
So I guess as your broadcasting business or career took off, your other business sort of went to the side, right? You were sacrificed.
Right. So I got out of the optical business after a few years and just devoted myself. I figured I make a bigger spectacle out of myself in broadcasting than I can in an optical store. So I spent more time doing the broadcasting and I was completely out of the optical.
Spectacle, I guess. Spectacle.
It took you a few moments.
I got it right away.
I knew you'd get it.
I got it right away. I wasn't sure if you did it intentionally or not, but I got it right away. Okay, so and so you were on WEVD for how long?
So actually, what happened was I was on the Christian group, which was WNYM, the old EVD, because EVD moved to the FM, but the Christian group that Salem broadcast that had the old DVD, which was 1300, they renamed it WNYM. So we broadcast on Sunday night. And at some point, we took over all the Jewish programming on the station. We left them because there was a period of time when they were missionizing. We left to another station. Then when they bought WMCA, they brought us back on Saturday night. That's how we got involved with them again. But they only would allow Jewish programming on Saturday night, not on weeknights. And I helped WSNR, which was Sporting News Radio. I got them to run Russian programming. I got them to let Jewish programming broadcast. So I brought Russian programming. I brought Jewish programming to WSNR 620.
So, okay, and you're on what? You're on a couple other stations right now, right?
So right now we're on WSNR Monday through Thursday. We go from 7 o'clock. We go Monday through Wednesday from 7 p.m. to 9 o'clock. We go Thursday nights from 7 p.m. to 11 o'clock. Saturday nights, World Jewish World Saturday nights, we go from 9 p.m. till 4 o'clock in the morning. Obviously, I have other shows aside from mine. And as I mentioned, I'm right after you on Sunday nights here on WOR 710, and I'm on WABC Radio back at 11 o'clock on Sunday nights.
Okay. So Zev, through your career on radio broadcasting, give me several of the, would you say the top interviewers, the top guests that you've had on your show over the last number of years?
Well, we're not been afraid to tackle controversial guests. The Reverend Al Sharp has appeared a couple of times with us on the radio. We invited Louis Farrakhan in 1984, who accepted my invitation. And then when Jewish militant groups threatened to harm him, he backed down. We're doing a lot of the candidates. We'll tackle, like I said, anything that's out there. So right now we're going to do all the mayoral candidates. We just had David Schoen, President Trump's Orthodox Jewish attorney, appear just the other night. So every night is different. We have lots of different guests, and we will try to be all Quran to whatever's happening in the community.
And to get the guests, you contact them directly? Do you have somebody who does that for you? Is that through an agency?
Since we're doing this 40 years, we have a lot of them contact us directly. So Alan Dershowitz is a regular guest. And so I can just call and have people that we have producers that help get us some of the guests as well.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever had the President Donald Trump on your show? Not as president, but prior.
No, not yet. Not yet.
You'd probably make a good guest, I would guess, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So we'd love to get him. We'd love to get Mike Pence. And we're hoping at some point in the future that will be the case.
Mm-hmm. Would you say at this early stage in the mayoral election, is there somebody that you would say the Jewish community in general you think might be endorsing?
So it's so splintered. It's very hard to predict. So, for example, Scott Stringer, who's the only, as far as I know, the only Jewish candidate in the race, does well in the Jewish community. But Eric Adams, the borough president of Brooklyn, has also a very strong connection to the Jewish community, especially in Brooklyn. So the Jewish vote is going to be up for grabs.
And how about I don't even remember his name. There was somebody who just announced, I think this morning, that he was being endorsed by the sports. Did you read that? The sports athletes like Patrick Ewing, like some of the I forgot his name. He's an ex-Wall Street guy. I think he's 63 years old.
There are a lot of different candidates. I'm not sure which one we're referring to. Maybe McGuire. But there's certainly a lot of interesting candidates. You have Andrew Yang, who's right now, as the media says, front runner. So you have a lot of people running. You have more than a million.
What would you say Yang's the Jewish community their feelings about Yang at the moment?
Well, Yang had some missteps with circumcision where he was opposed to it, then he changed his mind. He did hire a Hasidic American, David Schwartz, to be his Jewish liaison. So I think he is trying to make inroads in the Jewish community.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I would say at this moment, both of us being what we'll say Orthodox, our feelings are probably it's too early to tell. And a lot of these candidates, I would say we don't have strong, clear, I would say necessarily their views at the moment to even make a decision. Correct? I would say that.
Well, the problem is you have so many different candidates, and more people will be showing up. So, for example, John Catsimatidis, he's thinking about entering the race on the Republican. Curtis Lewis said he's entering the race. So you have a lot of different variables. Maybe you want to run. There's an opening.
I actually, to be honest with you, one of my previous guests, I don't want to say who, but he's announcing possibly next week he's running for mayor. He's a client of mine, and he wants me to handle his, I don't know, business development affairs. Going to make me. I mean, I'm not taking this that seriously, but it's just crazy how an older established businessman in the city, he's really thinking of throwing his hat in the ring right now. I don't know if you're going to need somebody very good, very unique, very strong to help build back the city to what it was, right? I mean, it's just crazy here.
There's no question the city has changed drastically, not for the better, especially in Manhattan. and whoever becomes mayor is going to have his hands, he or she are going to have their hands full trying to get New York back to what it was. It's going to take quite a number of years. The damage has been done.
Right. The law is, right, you can't, I guess, what is it? It's well, Bloomberg made it for himself, actually, a 3-term limit, right? I think so, correct?
Right. There was exceptional circumstances, but it's 2 terms. It's term limited.
Mhm. So
Two terms, and you're out.
So, you fall in the category of somebody who, even though I only see or have talked to once every several years, I consider to be a very, very close friend. And I just want to say that, there's certain people that fall in that category, not many, but that's just an unusual feeling I have. And I would say how I, feel about you, know you, and everything like that. So I just want to say that.
No, listen, and we go back a while, and every now and then I hear from we speak, and we have some nice conversations. And I always hear your commercials on the radio, so I always think about you whenever I hear those late night commercials.
Okay, that's cool. Now you live. When did you live on the Upper West Side, right?
That is correct.
And when did you move there?
About 30 some years ago.
So it's interesting. I never. Well, that's about the time I moved out. I don't know if you know this. I lived at Columbia University. My father was the head of the math department there. So I actually grew up there, and I lived on 120th in Amsterdam for, probably close to 30 years.
Wow.
So I grew up in that area. That's where I'm from, et cetera. Where did you go to school?
So I went to Brewer College. I went to New York City Technical College because I majored in ophthalmic dispensing. I went from business to ophthalmic dispensing. Then I decided that I would rather be involved in broadcasting because I wear a few different hats. I wear the hat of a broadcaster. We also help companies navigate the Jewish market. A lot of companies don't know how to reach the Jewish community, so we specialize in that.
And why don't we just talk about that for a second? What is unusual about the Jewish market that was different from the regular market that perhaps you and how, the differences and how you would help them navigate those differences?
For example, people may have a kosher product, but the ultra orthodox market may buy different products than the regular orthodox market. For example, regular Hershey's chocolate. Hershey's chocolate has a kosher certification, but because it's not made with milk that's called chalav Yisrael, that's milk at the beginning of the process by an observant Jew. So Haredi Jews won't eat Hershey's chocolate, but a mono-Orthodox Jew will, even though it's a kosher product. So I've seen companies that advertise in the Jewish marketplace that may have a product like Hershey's that's certified kosher and dairy, but it's not chalav Yisrael, the Jewish milk, that will advertise in the Haredi market and wonder why they didn't get a good response. You have to know how to navigate the marketplace and know where to go. And we will take a look and say, who are you looking to reach? And based on that, kind of come up with a strategy to get to the group that they want to reach. Not one size fits all. I gave you one example. I'll give you another example. A number of years ago, the United States Post Office had direct mail to Israel. And what happened was they wanted us to advertise. So they gave me a commercial to run for the Hanukkah season to promote you can ship a letter to Israel. And guess what? They gave me a commercial with Santa Claus and the elves. And I said to them that if you're reaching a Jewish marketplace for Hanukkah time, it's a great commercial, but Santa Claus is not going to sell to a Jewish consumer. So something simple as that, but the powers that be, that's the commercial they sent us to run for the Jewish marketplace. So these are things that we work with companies, large and small, to try to have the right message to the Jewish community.
Who would you say would be another most prominent Jewish talk show host?
Something people used to joke around and call me the Jewish Larry King, but Larry King
certainly don't have that anymore, right?
No, not quite. So we're unique. We cover. Listen, when I interviewed Al Sharpton, for example, I didn't focus on all the stuff the regular media. I focused on the Jewish angle. When I had Ed Asner on recently, Ed Asner Group is an Orthodox Jew. So he was expecting me to focus.
I did not know that.
Yes, he had a bar mitzvah, and he pretty much left Judaism at some point. Now today he's not really connected. I don't even think he celebrates. I don't think he celebrates even Hanukkah today. I forgot which part of the country he grew up, but he went to an Orthodox synagogue, and his father, was Orthodox. But So I was spending more of my time asking about his Orthodox background, less about Mary Tyler Moore. And he was looking for me to talk about more about Mary Tyler Moore. And my contention is you can hear about that in any other talk show. On my show, people are tuning because they want to hear the Jewish angle. And that's our focus, is to look at the Jewish angle.
So the Jewish angle, I'm confused here. You said people used to call you the Jewish Larry King, but I thought Larry King was the Jewish Larry King.
I'm just saying the nickname that people gave me, right?
No.
I guess they quoted me with Larry because he's Jewish. I don't know how much Jewish content he'd had on his shows. I'm sure he had Jewish guests over the course of time, but we are pretty much focused on issues that affect the Jewish community. That's our mandate. That's what we do.
So, what else?
What I wanted to mention to you go ahead.
Yes.
No, I was going to say,
go.
I was going to say that one of the things that we've done on the radio is I work with a lot of ethnic groups. And I think that one of the things that the Jewish community should be doing more is working with the Hispanics and the African Americans and the Chinese groups. So I'm very pleased that I helped a Russian group get a radio station. I helped a Chinese group get a television station. I'm working with some African American broadcasts to try to get them some airtime in the New York market and the other markets. I think it's just so important that we build these coalitions as New York is changing and things are really, it's a whole new, especially after the pandemic is over, it's going to be a whole new political scene. I think we Jews have to really get more involved with other groups and work closely with them.
I think everybody should work closely with everybody. I mean, it's really, yeah. I mean, I don't think, it's just terrible what's, happened to our country, our city, everything, that there's this, toxic, like, hatred around. And, people now, typically, in my opinion, they always assume the worst. It's just terrible. And what are your thoughts about that?
No, listen, it's people don't give each other the benefit of the doubt. The minute somebody says something right away, it's cancel culture. And listen, sometimes people say something they shouldn't say. You have to give the benefit of the doubt. You have to look for the circumstance. Not everything may be anti-Black or anti-Semitic. And if somebody says, I made a mistake, we should, lots of times, if they don't have a track record, we should accept that. We shouldn't just cancel people out, which is what we're doing, unfortunately.
Right. I think it's just terrible what that. Again, but okay. Okay, so anyhow, Zev, listen, I very much appreciate the time you've given us. I hope our audience appreciates the fact that they got a little insight into a little of your background and a little of your more personal, growing up and what you've been doing with yourself. And of course, I want to wish you continued success. And hopefully the more people that listen to me, they'll listen to you and they'll stick around. And so I'm going to wish you a happy, I guess, hopefully you'll have a happy Pesach and all the best to you. And again, we want to say thank you very much, Zev, for joining us here for this spontaneous live interview that hopefully many people in our audience will enjoy. Okay?
And thank you. And it's a pleasure to follow your program. So everybody should continue listening to your show and stay listening to my show right after. So keep up the wonderful work that you're doing.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Zev. So again, everyone, this is we're going to conclude another episode of Amazing Appraising with Lee the Appraiser from APR57 here in New York. And we want to have everyone stick around to listen to Mr. Zev Brenner on Talkline Communications. His show is going to be going on in just another few minutes. So take care, good night, and hope to talk to you next week. Thank you very much.
Good job, Lee. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much, buddy. Okay?
My pleasure. And have a great evening. I'm going to work now. Okay, thanks.
Okay, good luck. Take care. Bye.